Let's hear more about it from Daniel Pomerantz, the CEO of Honestreporting. He's with me in studio. Hi, Daniel.
Hi,
Thank you
Lauren.
so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so we heard a report just a few hours ago that Hamas is blaming these rockets on the thunderstorm. What exactly happened?
Well, not Hamas. It's actually the IDF that's saying that a bolt of lightning struck the rocket launcher and caused it to accidentally launch. I actually spoke to one of the IDF spokespeople this morning, and he explained to me that that actually happened a year ago and that stranger things have happened. The thing is, though, the rocket launcher was loaded and aimed at Israel intentionally, and that's why the IDF did respond to the launch, because Hamas ultimately has responsibility for keeping its rockets under control.
Well, how likely is it that it was actually a mistake and they didn't intentionally fire the rockets? Are we believing those reports?
Well, stranger things have happened, and it is the official position of the IDF at this point.
Understood. We haven't had a large escalation with Gaza for a long time. We have sporadic rocket fire every now and then, but, could we be edging closer anytime soon to some sort of escalation with Gaza, or does it look like things are pretty calm on that front for now?
We don't seem to see the classic indications of that kind of escalation. Usually you see either an increased amount of rockets heading towards southern Israel or any amount of rockets heading up towards central Israel. Now, this latest rocket did land near Bat Yam, which is getting close to Tel Aviv, but it does appear that it wasn't intentional, and it does appear that it's not continuing.
All right. We also know that Mike Pompeo, the U.S. Secretary of State, is on his way to Israel for, one last trip before the president-elect Joe Biden takes over. Who knows if he's going to try to implement some last-minute policies, maybe against the Palestinians, maybe regarding Iran. We obviously don't know what's about to happen. But are we going to see some sort of backlash from the Palestinians, on the heels of those meetings in Israel?
Well, we'll almost certainly see rhetoric. But ultimately, over the years, what we've found is that the Palestinians have not been coming to the table to negotiate under the Trump administration, and also didn't under the prior Obama administration. And so in that sense, neither Obama's policies nor Trump's policies have actually changed what Palestinians' actions are. And we have to judge a government by its actions, not just by its words.
Absolutely. Speaking of the Trump administration, we know that this Trump administration largely alienated the Palestinians and vice versa. The Palestinians also alienated the Trump administration. When we do see Biden entering the White House, are we going to see, that relationship between the Palestinians and the U.S. intensify or calm down?
Well, alienation is a funny word, because while the Trump administration certainly reduced foreign aid and applied greater pressure on the Palestinians, they actively encouraged them to come to the negotiating table and put together a significant plan to make them a part of the regional peace process. I think under a Biden administration, we'll see increased pressure on Israel over settlements or annexation, that sort of thing. We'll see decreased pressure on Palestinians over terrorism and increased foreign aid for Palestinians. But ultimately, in the sense that both parties have always, both Democrats and Republicans, have always invited Palestinians to negotiate peace, and Palestinians have always consistently refused. That's been a pattern throughout the last two administrations.
Like I said previously, it's been quite a long time since the last large military conflict with Gaza, since 2014, Operation Protective Edge. I'm wondering, what do you think could be the tipping point before there is another large escalation?
Well, a major change that's happened since the last operation is that not only do we have Iron Dome, which shoots down rockets and missiles, now we have the underground system that detects tunnels, and now even a laser system that can shoot down the kites and balloons.
Some high-tech stuff.
Exactly. But ultimately, it makes terrorism relatively impotent. The tipping point would have to be a barrage of attacks that actually can overwhelm Israel's defense systems to the point that the only way to stop it would actually be military action. Otherwise, Israel's in the enviable position of making terrorists look pretty ineffective.
All right, we'll have to wait and see how this escalates. Thank you so much, Daniel Pomerantz.
Thanks, Lauren.